Good morning, Flosstube. I'm Tanya the Starlit Stitcher, and welcome to my cross stitch channel. Thank you so much for coming back to watch me every week, or if you're new, for clicking on that thumbnail and giving my channel a try. Before we head into the stitching, I do have some news to share that's not very good, but I want to start out with the bad news so we can go into the good and be more positive. Now, those of you who have been watching me for a while, you know that my husband and I have been trying to buy a house here for the last 15 months or so, ever since we got here to Arkansas, and that has not been going very well. We got some more bad news yesterday. We had another house fall out on us, and I don't know what we're going to do about that yet, with the market being what it is, and I don't know. What I do know is my husband has finally made the decision to yank his VA loan out from this place that he's been trying to use it through, because they have failed us an unacceptable number of times, because it's not been on our end on anything that went wrong. It's been entirely because they're not processing our stuff in a timely manner numerous times. And so I'm hopeful that once he tries to use his VA loan elsewhere, that things will finally happen for us. I don't know. We will see. Like I said, I'm feeling pretty bummed right now and not coping very well. So I think that's probably as best as I can describe the situation right now, because I'm trying to not be, how shall we say, like, a total basket case on camera today. So maybe when I'm feeling a bit better, I can go into more details, but that's what my news is for this month. So let's go ahead and move into the stitchy stuff now, because that is something good that I've got going on in my life right now, and we need to focus on the good, right? Okay. So let's move into that. Let's start with Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. And this is the chart, what it will look like when it's done. And this is where I got to this week. I didn't take it out of the Q snap because everything I did, you can see on there this week. So what I did this week was I put in this man in here, and then this big motif, and pretty much everything from here this way is what happened this week on Pandemic. So this is a 28 count Haunted Lugana by Picture This Plus, and the floss is DMC. Oh gosh, I forget this every week. I'm so sorry, guys. The floss number is DMC 3756. And there it is. Okay, so the next one that I have up is a Heaven and Earth design. This is a retired chart by the artist Sheena Pike, and this is what it will look like once it's done. And here is where I got to on this week. Now, last week I had just completed the rainbow, and so now we're into the sky. And so basically from here, this section here of the sky, that is what I did this week. And you can see little bits of where the gnome's hat is going to be at. It's going to be so cute. Oh yeah, and right here too, that little leaf right there. And so, yeah, we're going to be on sky for the next chunk. But as I told you in a previous video, my plan for Mania is making this my focus project, so we can try and get through as much of that sky as possible, so that me and you are not just looking at the sky for the next 6 months, because yeah, we just don't want to do that. So we're going to focus on this heavily in May to hopefully get through. I don't know how much is going to get done in May, but at least a lot of it should get done. And yeah. Okay, what do I want to talk about next? Okay, so next up is, this is where my Land That I Love by Teresa Kogut is at. Here is the chart on what it'll look like once it's done. And here's where I got to this week. So I finished this basket of flowers here, and I have a lot of this eagle done. He looks kind of funny because the other wing is not there yet, but you know, whatever. Now, my plan on this is normally I would go, you know, top to bottom, left to right. So what I would normally do is, you know, go from here and continue going this way. But when you look at the bottom part of the chart, that's some heavy house stitching down there. So my strategy on this one, where I would normally be going across this ways and then coming back and going this ways, I don't know about that. So what I'm going to do is go down this way so that I'm doing, you know, this house down here and then maybe this little house too before I come back up to the top. So that all of the heavy house stitching is kind of broken up, so to speak. And so that is what my strategy on this is going to be. I am going to put in this other eagle wing, even though it's on page 2 and not on page 1, just because, I don't know, I feel kind of cruel with him not having that other wing there yet, and it's just kind of weird. So I'm going to finish him before I move my Q-snap down. So that is my plans on Land That I Love. Okay, next up is I have my American Deer. And he is an 11 count stamped kit that I got off of Amazon. And here is where he got to. I finished the bottom stripe and I did quite a bit of his body. I'm getting really close to a finish. I'm probably actually going to finish him this month. Now, I think that if I was to actually focus on him more in the coming week, I could get a finish on him this week. But I don't know. You all know what happens when I say, I'm going to finish this week. And then I come back next week and it's still not done. Yeah, like... But that is where he's at. I'm feeling really good about him. Now, I do have to check and see if frames and stuff are on sale at Hobby Lobby this week to see if I can get one picked out for him. And what I also need to do is, because you see how my margins on a couple of these sides are really narrow? And he's kind of a weird size. So he's not like a basic frame size. What I'm going to do is I want to bump up to the next normal frame size that I'm able to get. And then what I want to do is see if they can cut me a mat to go around him so that he'll have like some kind of a border between him and the frame that I put him in. And then what I can do here at home is I'll just add fabric pieces along these edges, and that'll be how I deal with that on framing him myself. But I've never asked them to custom cut me a mat before, so we're gonna see how that goes. Not a mat board, because I have a mat board big enough, but just like, you know, the mat, or maybe even a double mat. I don't know. I'm gonna ask them and I'm gonna find out how that goes. So maybe I'll have some news about that this next week. But here's where he is. I like him a lot. Okay, so also that I've been working on is I've been focusing a bit more on my Ukraine piece by Long Dog Samplers, because of, you know what I mean, yeah. But this is where that is at this week. What side's the top? Okay, this way. And this is where that is at. So if I focus more on this, I could probably have this one done in this coming week as well. And the reason why I'm thinking about doing that is because I'm kind of feeling a couple of different things. One is like I feel like I want to have another finish. Like that's how my brain is functioning right now. I want to have another finish. So it's between my deer and my Ukraine piece. Those are my closest pieces to a finish. So I may well be picking one or both of them and pushing them towards a finish. And the next thing that I want to start, which I wasn't planning on starting, but a lot of people are doing the Bloom Where You're Planted by, I believe it's So Emma by Lori Holt for the Fat Quarter Shop stitch along. That's going to be starting. But I have this one by Lindy Stitches, the one with the skunks. I just got this one not that too long ago, and I like this one. I like my skunks. So so I'm thinking about, while other people are doing the one with the boot and stuff, I'll be doing this one. And I did happen to have a piece of the called for fabric, which is a 32 count bittersweet light Jobelin. This is what it looks like. It's a very lovely color, because a while back I kind of had a thing about buying fabric samples, but I didn't buy the smallest size cuts, because I always kind of felt like, well, what if I buy only the smallest cut, and like it's a lot of what would you call it, a mottled fabric. You don't always have a very good idea of what mottled fabric looks like with just a tiny little cut that's only like that big, because the variety on mottled stuff can vary so widely. And then another thing is, I always kind of felt like, well, also, what if I want to use that color fabric on something and they're completely sold out? But I like to do a lot of bigger projects, so I guess like not a whole lot of like ornament size stuff. And so, like, you know, if I have a piece that's only this big, there's not a whole lot that can go on it. And so when I was buying those fabric samples, I was getting like, you know, these 13 by 18s. And so my thinking was, if I bumped up to that, I'd have a better idea of what actual modeling on fabric looks like. But also, if I had something that would fit on that size, that and that cut wasn't in stock, I could use the piece that I had got as a sample to myself. And so that is how I had this on hand already. I felt like that was way longer than it should have been, but hopefully it makes sense to people. And let's see here. Let's see, this is charted in DMC, but I decided to not go that route, except for it does call for B5200, and I did have that on hand. So this is the only called for DMC that I'm going to be using, and everything else that I'm using is leftover fancy flosses that are not being used for anything else right now. So some of these I pulled out from my leftovers of what I had from Halloween Quaker, and also from Long May She Wave, the Stitching with the Housewives pattern. And so, and then a couple others that were previously in my thing of leftovers from doing other stuff. And so yeah, let me see here. I wrote it down what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so the black, I'm using black coffee for the black on there. The yellow is going to be Honeycomb by Classic Colorworks. I do have two different dye lots of Honeycomb, because I stitched them up kind of simultaneously, but when I kitted up Long May She Wave and Halloween Quaker, they both called for the Classic Colorworks Honeycomb, but I kitted them up at different times. I stitched them at the same time, but they were kitted at different times. And so you'll see here I have a light one and two dark ones. I'm going to be using this as my yellow on here, and I'm going to go with the light skein that I have on that. Okay, so that was a bit more explicit. Yeah. Sorry, guys. The orange is going to be the Sassy Brass that I have left over from Halloween Quaker. The blue, which on here, it's kind of a dark blue. It's the words, Bloom Where You're Planted. I'm going to use my leftover smoke. You know, it's a bit more blue than what's on there and not as dark. but you know what? I kind of like this color better anyways. My dark green is going to be Spinach by Classic Colorworks, which I had a bunch of this because I was originally going to use this on my pavane for these times by Long Dog Samplers when I stitched that. But when I got this, I decided that it wasn't a dark enough green for that, and so I just put it away. I have since used it on a couple other projects, so you see I've got, like, you know, leftovers on there. But I've got plenty of this, so I decided this is a good time to use some more of that up, and so I'm going to. The light green is going to be Weeping Willow by Classic Colorworks. And instead of red, I'm going to go purple. And that is, what is this? Amethyst? Amethyst by Weeks Dyeworks. The pink, oh my gosh, this is so disorganized on here. The pink is going to be Rose Quartz by Weeks Dyeworks. And that's the last color. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be going with on this, and I think that it's going to work out pretty well. So here we go with my disorganized self on here. But I feel like this should work out to be a pretty good color scheme on here. So yeah, I'm feeling the want to start this because, like I said, a lot of other people are doing the other chart that's also called Bloom Where You're Planted, and so I want to start this one, but I'm feeling the urgency to finish something else first. So that's what my plans entail over the next week. I'll let you know how it goes next Wednesday, and hopefully I'll also have some better news regarding what's going on in, you know, our real life that's not stitching related. But take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.